The sun had just risen over the horizon, casting a warm glow over the small village, nestled on the banks of the river. The air was filled with the sounds of birds chirping and the gentle ripple of the water as it flowed by. Among the villagers there was one fisherman who stood out. He was tall and muscular with a weathered face and a stern expression. His name was Kofi, and he was a master of his craft. He had learned the ways of the river from his father, who had been a fisherman before him. Kofi had grown up on the banks of the river, watching his father cast his lines and reel in the fish. He had learned the secrets of the river, the patterns of the fish, and the best spots to catch them. Kofi woke up early every morning, long before the sun had risen. He would make his way down to the river where his boat was waiting for him. He would load his gear onto the boat and set out into the water. He would spend hours on the river, casting his lines and waiting for the fish to bite. He was patient, and he knew that the fish would come to him in their own time. As he fished, Kofi would take in the beauty of the river. He would watch the sun rise and set, and he would listen to the sounds of the birds and the animals that lived along the riverbank. He would think about his family and his village, and he would be grateful for the life that he had. Kofi was a skilled fisherman, and he was able to provide for his family with the fish that he caught. He would bring the fish back to the village and sell them to the other villagers. He was respected and admired by the people of the village, and they knew that they could always count on him to provide them with fresh fish. Kofi had been fishing on the river for many years, and he knew it like the back of his hand. He knew the best spots to catch fish, patterns of the river, and the habits of the animals that lived along the banks. However, there was one thing that he had never encountered before: crocodiles. It started with small sightings here and there. Kofi would spot a crocodile sunning itself on the bank or slipping into the water as he approached. At first he thought it was just a coincidence, but as the sightings became more frequent, he realized that something was wrong. Hey there, Viral Videos here. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell. We post the most beautiful, amazing, and scary videos every single day. Let's proceed with the video. Kofi began to investigate and soon discovered that the river was full of crocodiles. They had been driven there by habitat destruction and overhunting in other areas, and they had found a new home in the river. The crocodiles were not only dangerous to the fish but also to the villagers who relied on the river for their livelihood. Kofi knew that he had to do something to protect his community. He organized a meeting with the other villagers and explained the situation. Together they came up with a plan to protect the river and the people who lived along it. They put up signs warning people about the crocodiles and posted guards to keep watch over the river. They also began to work on building a crocodile-proof barrier to keep the animals away from the village. It was a difficult and time-consuming process, but Kofi and the other villagers were determined to protect their community. Despite their efforts, the villagers still had to be cautious when they were near the river. Kofi would often see crocodiles lurking in the shadows, waiting for their next meal. However, he knew that they were now better prepared to deal with the threat, and that they would be able to continue to use the river for fishing and other activities. Kofi's efforts to protect the river and the community had not gone unnoticed. The villagers had come to see him as a true leader, and they knew that they could always count on him to keep them safe. Kofi had proven once again that he was not just a fisherman but a protector of his community and the river that sustained them. The crocodiles of the river had become a part of the life of the village, and the people had learned to live with them. They knew that they were dangerous animals, but they also knew that they were a part of the natural ecosystem of the river. Kofi and the other villagers had worked to protect the river and its inhabitants, and they had succeeded in preserving the balance of the ecosystem for generations to come. One day, as he was out on the river, he came across something that he had never seen before: a crocodile caught in a trap. The crocodile was thrashing about in the water, trying to free itself from the trap that had ensnared it. Kofi could see that the trap was cutting into the animal's flesh and that it was in great pain. He knew that he had to do something to help. Kofi carefully approached the crocodile, keeping a safe distance as he assessed the situation. He could see that the trap had been set by poachers who were looking to capture the animal and sell it on the black market. He knew that he had to act quickly to save the crocodile before it was too late. Kofi reached out carefully and removed the trap from the crocodile's leg. The animal was still in pain, but it was now free from the trap that had ensnared it. Kofi carefully examined the crocodile's injuries, and he could see that they were not too serious. The crocodile would be able to heal and return to the river. Kofi knew that the crocodile was not out of danger yet. He knew that the poachers were still out there, and that they would be looking for the crocodile. Kofi carefully picked up the crocodile and placed it in his boat. He then set off down the river, away from the poachers, and to a safe place where the crocodile could heal. He took the crocodile to a wildlife sanctuary where it could be cared for and eventually released back into the wild. The villagers had heard about Kofi's heroic actions and they were proud of him. They knew that he would always be there to protect their community and the river that sustained them. Kofi had become a true hero in the eyes of the villagers, and his reputation as a protector of the river had grown even stronger. Years had passed since Kofi had saved the crocodile from the trap. He had continued to fish on the river, and he had become a respected and admired member of the community. He had not forgotten about the crocodile, and he had often wondered about its fate. One day, as Kofi was out on the river, he saw something that made his heart skip a beat. He saw the crocodile that he had saved swimming in the river. The crocodile seemed to recognize him and it came closer to the boat. Kofi could see that the crocodile was no longer in pain and that it had fully recovered from his injuries. The crocodile seemed to be happy to see Kofi and it swam alongside the boat for a while. Kofi reached out and gently stroked the animal's head, and the crocodile seemed to respond positively to the touch. Kofi felt a sense of joy and satisfaction, knowing that the crocodile was now healthy and free. Kofi realized that he had formed a special bond with the crocodile, and that it had become a friend for life. He knew that he had helped to save the crocodile's life, and that the animal had been able to return to the river and live out its life in freedom. Kofi's actions had not gone unnoticed. The villagers had heard about the encounter, and they were amazed and touched by the story. They saw Kofi as a true friend of the river. From that day on, whenever Kofi went out to fish on the river, the crocodile would always be there to greet him. It was a reminder of the special bond that had formed between them, and of the importance of protecting the river and its inhabitants. Kofi knew that he had made a difference in the life of the crocodile, and that the animal would always hold a special place in his heart. Kofi's reputation as a protector of the river had grown even stronger, and he was proud of the work that he had done. He knew that he had made a difference in the lives of the animals that lived in the river, and that he had helped to preserve the river and the ecosystem for generations to come. Kofi had become a true hero of the village, and he would always be remembered as the fisherman who saved the crocodile and protected the river. What did you think of this story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like the video and subscribe. See you next time.